No.
That sounds great. With the
Or whatever. minute? Okay. Whatever you want. Okay.
Board members, let me remind you that to hear in the back, you have to really bring your face a little closer or speak louder when you're intending to speak.
I hereby call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education for Wilmette Public Schools, District 39, for Monday, February 24th, 2020. Will the clerk please call the roll? Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Principal Kelly Jackson will introduce students from the Wilmette Junior High School No Place for Hate Leadership Group to lead the pledge.
Good evening. We have a lot of students here from Wilmette Junior High tonight. We're really excited to have this group with us to join us. A couple weeks ago, we asked teachers to nominate students that they saw exhibiting the skills of tolerance and inclusion in their classrooms and around the community of the school. And we wanted to get a really good group together for our No Place for Hate team to kind of steer our efforts. And so these are just a portion of our No Place for Hate teams at each of our grade levels. They were trained early February by Bill Hicks, the Assistant Director for Education at ADL. He came and spent lunch with them, and we ordered pizza and had a good time. And they've met and started brainstorming some different ways to, first of all, get students involved in the pledge for No Place for Hate, and then after that to develop some activities and events to really advertise this effort a little bit more. I'm going to have the students introduce themselves. I'll start in the back row, and then we'll end with William. And William's going to read the No Place for Hate pledge that we are eventually passing out to all of our students at Wilmette Junior High. So we'll start back here.
I'm Alex Palmer.
I'm Isabel Smith.
I'm Maeve O'Brien.
I'm Nathan Oshana.
I'm Jillian Harrow.
I'm Aaron Chang.
I'm Daniel Renderos.
I'm Tessa Von Bank.
I'm Terod Taylor.
Jackson Hasbrook.
Charlie Casanas.
I'm Kira Kroniak.
Brian Arias.
Jenny Rankin.
Will Klein Peter.
I'm William Carr. The No Place for Hate pledges, I'll seek to gain understanding of those who are different from myself. I'll speak out against prejudice and discrimination. I'll reach out to support those who are targets of hate. I'll promote respect for people and help foster a prejudice-free school. I believe that one person can make a difference. No person can be an innocent bystander when it comes to opposing hate. I recognize that respecting individual dignity and promoting intergroup harmony are the responsibilities of all students. Now please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one student who is here for No Place for Hate, but is also a special guest this evening. Aaron, can you come on up to the front to join us? This is Aaron Chang. He's an 8th grader at Wilmette Junior High, and he made it through first the Wilmette Junior High grade level spelling bee, and then the District 39 spelling bee, to then go on to participate a few weeks ago in Kenilworth at the 10th annual North Cook ISC script spelling bee, which he won. Then, right? Aaron then advanced to the regional ISCB, which took place last Thursday night, the 20th, and that was in Western Springs, and he won that as well. Pretty awesome. So now Aaron will advance to the Washington, D.C. spelling bee, where he will represent suburban Cook County on behalf of Wilmette Junior High. So we are so proud of you for representing District 39, and we can't wait to cheer you on at the end of May. Thanks to all our students and families for coming out tonight.
Thank you. So on behalf of all of us up here, Aaron, congratulations. That's fabulous. And to the No Place for Hate leadership group, that's terrific work. Keep it up. Thanks for coming tonight. Okay. It's a hard act to follow. Ms. Berngard Central students created the artwork in the boardroom. First graders read Snowman at Night to inspire these three-dimensional snowmen. Third graders transformed cardboard circles into dream catchers by painting the background and learning to weave patterns. First through fourth graders used modeling clay techniques to create unique self-portraits. Finally, fourth graders created food portfolios and Victorian spooky houses. One of my favorites. So I would like to remind everyone that this is a public meeting and we are all amongst neighbors and fellow residents. Appropriate conduct is expected from everyone. We ask that people speak only when called upon and that everyone treat each other kindly and with proper respect and refrain from distracting behaviors such as loud conversations, cheering, clapping, or booing. I seek a motion to approve the minutes of the January 27th, 2020 Board of Education and Executive Session meetings.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 27, 2020 Board of Education and Executive Session meetings.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Board members, are there any comments, errors, or omissions to the minutes? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes as submitted, please indicate by saying yay.
Yay.
Yay. The motion carries by general consent. It's now time for public comment. This is an opportunity for the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? If so, please come forward to the podium. I must remind all guests to use the microphone, state your name and community of residence, and by board directive, you are allowed 3 minutes if it's your turn, if it's your first time addressing the board, or 1 minute if you've previously spoken.
Fantastic. Hello, my name is Diane Whitmore-Schanzenbach. I'm a parent of a 7th, 5th, and 2nd grader in the district. I'm also a professor at Northwestern with a primary research interest in education. My research has used test scores to assess the impacts of a range of school inputs, such as school finances, class sizes, and teacher quality. I'm an elected member of the National Academy of Education. I've testified before the U.S. House of Representatives on my research. I've come today to voice concerns about some patterns I've noticed in our district's achievement data in recent years. The first concern is drawn from the recent edition of 39 Express, where you report that 1 in 4 students had no reading growth on the MAP test last year. As you know, this test is designed to measure growth. A 2nd grader at the national average has a score of 175 in the fall, which is expected to grow to 193 in the spring. By 5th grade, a student at the national average will have a score of 212, and by 8th grade, it will be 220. Based on their fall test scores, students have individual growth targets for the year. 1 in 4 students in our district showing no growth is simply too high a rate. The share of students meeting their individualized growth targets is also quite unimpressive. For example, only 51% meet their growth targets in grades 7 and 8. In addition, the IAR, formerly the PARC, measures the share of students who are proficient in English language arts. Wilmette's proficiency rates have fallen in nearly every grade over the last 5 years. They've also dropped at nearly every school. The drops in ELA are larger than the drops in math. The MAP and the IAR results together suggest a need to urgently investigate the quality of our reading curriculum and instruction across the district. My second concern is about performance at Wilmette Junior High School. Proficiency rates in both ELA and math have dropped by 10 percentage points or more over the past 5 years. To put this into context, it means that 98 students more are not proficient today because of that drop in proficiency over the last 5 years. Every subgroup of students have had a drop in proficiency, and according to MAP, nearly half of WJHS students are low growth in reading. Now, I applaud your recent move to hire a new dedicated principal at WJHS. That's a good first step at improving the situation, but it is only a first step. Third, these patterns are not happening in our neighbor districts. Today, our proficiency rates are 8 or more points behind those of Winnetka, Kenilworth, and other local schools. Our MAP growth rates are several points behind Winnetka's. This makes me concerned about how our students will fare in high school. As an economist and a homeowner, it also makes me concerned about our property values. From the outside, it's hard to know what's caused these declines. We have many ingredients for success. We have some of the best teachers in the country, an ample budget, and our new superintendent has an established track record of success. And I note all of these patterns have been measured prior to Ms. Kramascoli's arrival. Can I continue? 30 more seconds.
You can come back.
Okay. Oh, I can come back.
You can come back
in
and
a
you'll
second.
have, at the next public comment period, you can come back and you'll have another minute.
Great. I'll send all this to all of you.
Would anyone else like to speak at this time? If not, we'll continue with our agenda. It's time for board reports. Facility Development Committee, Ms. Sternweiler.
James? At our February Committee of the Whole meeting, the Facility Development Committee reviewed the central construction bid. The bids came in well under budget, and we are able to recommend including the 2 alternate bids. One of them was to add unit vents to 2 classrooms so that all 4 kindergarten classrooms at Central will have air conditioning. We also recommend accepting the alternate to add LED lighting to all 4 kindergarten classrooms. So we're happy to find that even with the acceptance of these alternatives, we're still coming in $236,000 under the estimate that was provided in January. In addition, the committee was provided a brief presentation of the High Crest Garden planning process and some of the pictures and plans of the design ideas that have been generated with input from the students, staff, and committee. High-level cost estimates were reviewed along with a plan for phasing in the project. The designs were incredible, by the way. I just have to add that. The plans and ideas that everyone collaborated on were just amazing. And the board provided support for moving forward with the phase-in approach and for continuing to examine additional funding for some of the items that were actually listed in the to be determined, or what I like to call the wish list column, because the ideas were so fantastic and really deemed, I think, necessary desires, I think. But we'll wait and see on that. The draft intergovernmental agreement between District 39 and the village was also reviewed, with additional direction provided by the board for necessary revisions. These suggested revisions have been included within the IGA's proposal later on this evening in this evening's agenda. Finally, the committee received an update on the Ramona PTA Playground Committee's planning and fundraising efforts. Design concept drawings were reviewed as well as fundraising goals. The board expressed support for the committee's ongoing work in support of these plans, as well as recognition of the playground replacement needs at Ramona based on age and capacity of equipment. The board has an opportunity to supplement the committee's work in order to ensure that the playground can be accomplished in conjunction with the summer construction projects. Provided the committee continues to reach their fundraising goals, which they have been working so hard on and diligently. I applaud them for their efforts. The board expresses support for contributing approximately $30,000 towards their project to help the school reach its goal and ensure that the project can be completed in the summer of 2021. So really, really happy about that. That's the end of my report.
Thank you very much. School Finance, Mr. Cesaretti.
You, President Fabes. As you know, this fall, the board completed the expenditure review process that began in FY 17-18 and concluded that the district is being managed in a fiscally responsible manner. The board is going to focus on an ongoing review and communication of selected metrics and benchmarking these metrics against other districts and our own historical trends. This data will be used to facilitate board review and discussion, as well as to improve transparency and communicate our financial status. The administration has built a new financial dashboard created using dynamic data from Forecast5's software system. The new dashboard incorporates a wide variety of metrics and benchmarking that we have reviewed over the past year. The administration has published it on the public website. That's it.
Thank you. Strategy, Mr. Steen.
Great, thank you. The Strategy Committee reviewed the proposal and firm selected to complete the special education and RTI evaluation, a comprehensive evaluation of the operational functioning of the department and its programs and systems, opportunities for enhancement of services and allocation of resources for MTSS and special education will be conducted. So the board expressed strong support for this work, and we're looking forward to continued progress update. We're very happy to have that on board and going. There we go. I had to look at Kristen. I had to remember where to look. Thank you for spearheading that, Kristen. In addition, the Strategy Committee reviewed and discussed proposals for strategic planning support for the district. The board and representatives of our administrative team interviewed the 3 top firms and discussed each in detail. The administration was provided with feedback and follow-up questions to investigate as a result of the proposal and interviews. And the selected firm is recommended for approval later on this evening's agenda. The board is excited to begin the strategic review process and very happy to have a strong recommendation. So thank you for that. That's it for the Strategy Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for our liaison reports. Community Review Committee, Dr. Kumascoli.
Yes, I attended. Unfortunately, our board member wasn't able to join me at that meeting, so I can provide the report. At the recent CRC meeting, the committee continued to review its research regarding community engagement and strengthening parent partnerships. The group reviewed survey data that has been collected from our township school districts and agreed to expand this survey to include the identified comparable districts. So the board has identified some comparable districts. The CRC decided that they would use those same districts and request survey feedback there as well. In addition, the committee designed and has since administered a parent survey regarding engagement and district communication. All of these results will be reviewed at the CRC's upcoming meeting, along with the additional research being gathered by so many of our parent representatives who serve on that committee. And then those findings and recommendations will be put together into a report that will be provided to the district and the board later this school year.
Thank you. Education Foundation, Ms. Stone.
Yes, the Ed Foundation met on a very snowy February 12th and reported that the trivia night was a success. They sold more tables than ever before. At that time, they were announcing their Lab 39 open house, which is now behind us, but that was this past Saturday at the junior high. The GRIP grant spring deadline is March 6th, and the Ed Foundation will be reviewing grants and voting on them at the next meeting. And they have a firm date and time for their movie night, which is April 26th. It's more of a movie afternoon, excuse me. At 4 p.m. at the Wilmette Theater. At the time, the movie had not yet been determined. They're also looking to finalize a date for the pub crawl that is a fundraiser for them this spring. And the next meeting will be Wednesday, March 18th at 7 p.m. here at the MEC.
Thank you. The Illinois Association of School Boards, Ms. Sternweiler.
ISB has their North Cook Division. We have our North Cook Division meeting coming up March 18th at Fairview South School in Skokie. The topic will be moving Illinois towards fiscal sustainability, presented by Ralph I do not know how to pronounce his name, I apologize. Martyr, who is the Executive Director of the Center for Tax and Budget Accountability, and Arthur Rubloff, Endowed Professor of Public Policy at Roosevelt University. It should be an interesting night, so I encourage you all to sign up, and that's all for ISB right now.
Thank you. Insurance Advisory Committee, Ms. Pulling.
So the Insurance Advisory Committee met on February 3rd. This is an annual meeting that allows union leadership, administration, and board members to hear how the insurance plan year is running and what changes might be expected in the new year. D39 is part of a health and dental insurance cooperative called Cooperative 90s. So the cooperative is considering making a change to move the plan year from June 1 to September 1. If they make this change on June 1st of 2020, we will begin a plan year that will be 15 months running through August of 2021. This would make the plan year start on a September 1 start date. In addition to that change, a rather significant premium increase is expected for health insurance. The HMO rates are expected to increase 6.4%, while the PPO rates are expected to increase 15%. The cooperative has been implementing changes to the plan to lessen the projected rate increases. District 39 will conduct open enrollment in April for the new plan year beginning on June 1st. And because this is a 15-month plan year, there will be an additional optional open enrollment in August for September 1 start date if staff need or want to make any changes. So more information about the plan changes, premium costs, and open enrollment will be shared with staff after spring break.
Thank you. Legislative update, Ms. Stone.
Yes. The governor gave his fiscal year 2021 budget address that included a lot of proposals that would affect education, and including an increase in spending, but a lot of this hinges on whether the progressive tax is adopted by voters in November. So we will be keeping an eye on that. Some bills were approved by committee. including Senate Bill 3109, which requires the Department of Public Health to test paint, soil, and water for lead contamination in all school buildings. Some bills were scheduled for committee, including Senate Bill 452, which requires agencies providing early intervention services to notify the school district when a child eligible for Part B of IDEA reaches their 3rd birthday. And another bill, Senate Bill 2281, which would affect our families, not necessarily our district, but that provides that a student whose 22nd birthday occurs during the school year is eligible for special education services through the end of that school year. And then finally, House Bill 3975, which I mentioned last month, which would amend the school code to prohibit students from being placed in seclusion. The hearing for that bill is scheduled for this coming Thursday morning at 9:00 a.m. in Springfield.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to written communication. Dr. Krumascoli?
Yes, the district received written communication from Maja Kos regarding the newly implemented grading system at High Crest Middle School. I was able to respond to this communication and also ensure that the team at High Crest Middle School has that communication. They are in the process of gathering a lot of feedback, and they have a committee that is working on continuous improvements there to continue to work on the grading system and progress reporting.
Moving on to administrative announcements from you and staff.
Thank you. Up first, we have a library partnership that we're really excited about. We are expanding our partnerships with the Wilmette Public Library and the Glenview Public Library by sharing information for the purpose of increasing the number of students with library cards. We're excited to work with our public library partners to bring efficiencies in governmental services to our shared families. Tony has this report, and I know that he's invited a few representatives from our library here with us this evening as well. Thank you for being here.
I'll have them raise their hand in a moment. Good evening. As was just pointed out, we're joined by first Linda Dykman, who is our central school, if you can raise your hand, Linda, librarian, who also takes lead on many of our library initiatives. Also in attendance are colleagues from the Wilmette Public Library. We have Anthony Austin, who is director of the Wilmette Public Library. If you can raise your hand, Anthony. Thank you if you already did. And we also have Andrea Johnson, who's the head of Youth Services. Thank you, Andrea. Our students are served by 2 public library systems. Wilmette Public Library, which serves the majority of our families, while Glenview Public Library serves a smaller portion for those families residing in Glenview. We have historically partnered on a program level with our school librarians, collaborating with the school liaison librarian from the respective public libraries. This slide shows the many ways in which we already work together. We recently had conversations on how we can expand our partnership by sharing our resources to better meet the needs of our shared constituents. Our school librarians have a long-standing goal for all students to have a public library card. In those previously mentioned discussions about sharing resources, we realized there's a way to bridge the library card gap by working together. We have a registration process that captures much of the same information that our public libraries do. Our public libraries agreed to have District 39 collect the information on their behalf. We customized our registration screens to include their disclaimer language and ask for explicit permission to share information for the purpose of creating their child a public library card. On a regular basis, our database staff will send the necessary information to the public library circulation staff. Parents will then go to pick up their child's library card by bringing their photo ID. This school year, we are only doing this with kindergarten students to ensure that the process is successful, and if successful, next year, the question through our registration process will be presented to everybody. As you can see, we all benefit in some way by working together. Most importantly, our students benefit because when they have a public library card, it can encourage reading beyond the school day and open up access to the library's electronic databases that can help with research and homework. Parents will always have the ability to visit their public library to get their child a library card outside of our process. However, by asking the questions during registration, we were able to help encourage it, as you can see there. Although the number for Glenview seems small, it's actually good proportionally. We have 224 Glenview students, pre-K through 8th grade. A small portion of that are kindergarten age, which is the age we're doing this year. And then keep in mind some of those students already have a library card. On day 3 of registration, this data was pulled last Thursday. As you can see, 55 kindergarten kiddos that didn't previously have a library card, their parents signed up to get a library card just because we asked the question. So this is encouraging from all kinds of levels, but most importantly, kids are getting that opportunity, and as local taxing bodies, we're combining resources for a good cause. So at this point, Andrea, Anthony, Linda, if you want to step up, and any of us can, maybe Anthony has something he'd like to say. If not, we can answer any questions that you may have.
I'll say a word. I just want to say Tony has been impressive. We really enjoy working with him, and we're grateful for our continued partnerships as we share a similar strategic initiative in order to serve our public and grow our partnerships.
Board members, any questions?
Why didn't we think of this before?
You know, one other piece, when we were talking to Andrea and Anthony's staff, one thing that they got excited about is they said when parents came in to apply for a card, the majority of that time, their kids' first experience, it was paperwork. It was paperwork intensive. So now, by taking that paperwork off that first visit, they now can celebrate that child's first library card. So instead of here, complete a piece of paper, whether or not you knew this or not, some of your staff were talking having a pencil or a sticker or a board welcoming them, and they just lit up at the fact that that precious moment can be spent welcoming them. So I think even their staff, I know their staff is excited about this as well.
Well, and from our standpoint, the idea that children can be using the resources of our very rich school libraries and then so seamlessly transition, not just in the summer to the public library, but after school, just such a plus.
I could say it's already raising awareness. The first day of registration, a parent came in. Oh. Yeah, she didn't want to wait to bring her kid in. Wait for the 2 weeks.
That's great.
Thank you for spearheading.
No, thank you for being a great partner in this. And Glenview Public Library is doing the same. So we're all just seeing how it goes. Hopefully it's we can expand this to all grade levels. Are there any other questions?
Board members, questions? Ms. Sternweiler?
I just want to thank you all for doing this. When I read about it, I was so excited about it. Also, I can't wait for the next year, because when it goes to the older kids too, I know carrying this into New Trier and beyond, it's so valuable for those students. I think some of them forget that there's a library and you can go to it to study. So it's a good reminder of where's that library card that I forgot about. So it's great. Thank you for doing this, all of you.
A terrific partnership. Oh, Mr. Steen?
No, I was just going to say, I echo that. You guys have such a terrific space, and I'd love to see more kids use it. I know a lot of kids use it already. Love to see even more. I think it's terrific. Thank you very much, Tony, and thank all of you.
I'll echo that. As someone we used to live kind of by the Wilmette Library. The first place my kids were allowed to go by themselves on foot was the library, and I'm getting very nostalgic sitting here. But thank you so much for doing this partnership, because it's going to get more kids in the library, which is fantastic.
Anyone else? Thank you very much. Very exciting.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
We'll continue on with our administrative announcements.
Thank you, and I have several more, so thank you for allowing some time for this. First of all, school registration for the upcoming school year. With the launch of enrollment for kindergarten and for our new students, we have turned our attention toward registration for our returning students. This year, again, we've moved up our registration from what is traditionally April to February to better support our planning and staffing for the upcoming school year. We know that the sooner we know what our enrollment numbers are, the more quickly we can approach staffing and make sure that we are hiring these outstanding teachers that we're so fortunate to have in our district. So this is especially important as enrollment projections and registration numbers inform those staffing assignments. Parents have received an email containing registration information and are encouraged to submit that registration as promptly as possible. For more information, the D39 registration process, about that process, there is information available online, but again, it was sent directly to parents via email as well. In terms of summer enrichment programming, we have also launched that. Registration for that program has initiated. This summer, the D39 Summer Enrichment Program will again offer a wide variety of enrichment and academic courses for the summer. District 39 proudly offers a wide variety of those summer programs and activities for our students. Those students who are currently in kindergarten all the way through 7th grade have really a wide variety of options. Summer programming includes all interests from cooking and photography to academic enrichment, board games to flag football, jazz band, Minecraft. There's something literally for everyone. And many of our students take more than one course over the summer, so we are eager to continue that tradition. Summer program registration opened on February 17th, and programming will be held from June 16th through July 17th. So again, interested families are invited to visit the Summer Enrichment Program website for more information. There's also brochures with program information available here at the MEC as well, I think at each of our schools, but that brochure is also available online, so we invite people to look at that. We did hear a little bit earlier in the strategy update about the special education and RTI evaluation. We are really excited about this evaluation. We have selected Atlantic Research Partners to work with us to evaluate our special education in response to intervention systems, services, and procedures. We are looking forward to learning more about how to sustain our excellent practices and also where there is room for improvement. And we know that there are places where we can grow as well. So we really are looking forward to partnering with them throughout the remaining half of this school year to really evaluate those programs and services. I will provide an update now on the intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Wilmette. I know that was highlighted a little bit before for the benefit of our audience and everyone else who might be paying attention. I'll kind of give a quick summary, and this would be a good time if there is a need for discussion further of the IGA. This would be a good time after I kind of summarize where we're at with this. So we know the Village of Wilmette is planning a variety of stormwater projects throughout the village, including a very large project that is planned for the community playfields behind High Crest Middle School. The village has determined that it's in the best interests of the health, safety, and welfare of its residents and the general public to construct, maintain, and operate a series of underground stormwater reservoirs, piping, and other apparatuses for the purpose of managing and storing excess surface stormwater in an effort to decrease surface flooding throughout the village. The village identified specific portions of Park District property, including the community playfields, as suitable locations for the installation and operation of the large storage reservoir. This project is planned to occur between April 2020 through April 2021. So there will be an impact on the playfields during that time. The village requests a temporary easement and a non-exclusive permanent easement through the High Crest School parking lot to obtain access to the community playfields, both to construct the project and then ongoing to maintain, repair, and service the project upon completion. The village is working in partnership with our district to ensure the safe, efficient, and minimally disrupted full operations of the school and to restore all portions of the school district property to current or better conditions. So the board's interest has been expressed very well by this board, I think, up to this point, is to serve as good governmental partners for the benefit of the Wilmette community and to ensure no loss of operation of the school such that, again, our full educational programs can continue without disruption and without additional cost to the school district due to the village's project. So the specific partnership between the village and the Board of Education in cooperation with this project and the parameters of the easements are detailed within the intergovernmental agreements, which are recommended for approval later on the board's agenda this evening. Approval of the IGAs will provide for a temporary easement and a permanent easement in support of the village's stormwater project within the playfields, as well as the ongoing full and safe operations of the school district. So we really are working to ensure that everyone's interests are accounted for. At the last meeting, and as was alluded to earlier, the boards gave us some direction at the February Committee of the Whole meeting that the proposed IGAs reflect 4 specific suggested revisions from the IGA that was drafted previously. So in the IGAs that are listed on this evening's agenda, you'll see those 4 requests articulated within the IGAs. The first was separating the single draft IGA into 2 agreements to make clear the difference between the permanent and the temporary easements and to clearly limit any possible extension of the temporary easement. Again, I know this has been critical for the board to ensure that school can start on time, minimally disrupting any of the school district programs as much as possible. The board asked that we include language regarding the process by which we will address any unforeseen expenses due to the project if things go wrong. The board specifically requested some type of mediation process whereby the parties could work together to ensure that the district is protected from costs related to the project if things did go wrong in any way. The third was to provide a clear description of the background check requirements, for the flaggers who will be helping to ensure students can go back and forth safely. And this is for the fall time when the project is nearing completion, but there still will be need for some crossing from High Crest to get to the playfield areas that they can access, which are a little more closely located to WJHS. And the final is consideration of mutually agreed upon improvements to the north parking lot in the reconstruction phase that could possibly address some student safety issues and efficiencies at pickup and at drop-off. I am pleased to say that we had several follow-up conversations with the village, and attorneys took a look at this language as well. So we do have this evening presented and recommended for action both intergovernmental agreements between the Board of Education and the Village of Wilmette. Approving these this evening will allow the village to proceed with their action to essentially commence their project, which again is scheduled to begin in April. I would open it up to any questions, comments, feedback at this point to the board.
Board members?
Question. So yes. We got an email earlier that the village had actually changed its timeline a little bit for its approval. So I just want to clarify what that means for us. Mm-hmm. My understanding is, but this is what I'm looking for guidance on, if we were to wait to act on this until a future date in our next meeting, or maybe we could even do a special meeting when we have our committee of the whole, we could do a short special meeting. I don't think that if we were to wait, that would impact the timeline of the village. Does that match your understanding, given their delay?
I can confirm that they are delaying at this point their votes on the stormwater project. The information that we received later Friday evening was that the village has adjusted their timing for approvals of the stormwater project. So on Tuesday, February 25th, because the Village Council will also be hearing some feedback on the 1210 Central PUD redevelopment project, which is triggering some significant feedback. They really wanted to be able to focus on that. And so as such, some of the Village Council members requested to have the votes on the stormwater project tabled until their March 10th meeting. And so in doing, the village shared that they still intend to discuss the stormwater projects and the IGAs at their February 25th meeting, which will be tomorrow night, but they will hold on taking a vote on all stormwater-related items until their March 10th meeting. We do have a committee of the whole meeting prior to that date. They have indicated that despite that 2-week delay, the project administrators really believe strongly that the project is still on schedule, that there will not be a delay in the construction time frame. they don't see a scenario in which this will delay any element of the project. It sounds to me like they really want to make sure that they can give proper attention to some of the other items that require some direction, some attention, some discussion. So they do anticipate discussing the project tomorrow night in some depth, is my understanding, but they won't take votes until March 10th.
Okay. Given so thank you, because that's a good recital of facts, and I think that's the right thing to do. My interpretation is going to be that we could wait before we approve this without a delay to the village. So in reading the new separated agreements, there are some questions that have sort of come up on my end. I don't, I'll just be frank, I don't see things that are showstoppers for me, but there are some things that I'm wondering about. I think you all, the administration, did a great job of responding to the 4 things that we had asked for, and I really appreciate that. But there are a couple of things that, I would like the board to have the opportunity to discuss. And I don't think it's worth, we can go through them, but I don't think it's worth going through them right now. So I'm going to put out there, we can have a continued discussion, but when we get to the end of the discussion, I'm going to put out there a suggestion for the board that instead of voting on this tonight, we table it, and then we figure out whether we can vote on it, say, at the committee of the whole, we'd have to have a special regular board meeting, but that's not hard to do. And whether we can table it until then and vote on it until then, so that we can have appropriate discussion if board members feel. So I'm just letting the board know that's going to be a suggestion. We may not want to go that way. We may want to vote tonight. That's up to the board.
And just for everyone's awareness, the committee of the whole meeting is on the morning of March 9th. As it's scheduled now, but you are correct. We could certainly schedule a special meeting in addition to that, or we could take a vote at the March 9th meeting.
So, Carrie, when's the village's meeting? I didn't catch that.
They've indicated it's March 10th.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, so maybe we should have a discussion sooner than later.
You mean before March 9th?
Right, if it's important.
Well, as I said, for me, so there, the kinds of things are, there's a clause in the temporary, just past the recitals, part 2, there's a clause that says,
What page?
Sorry, on page 4 of 17 of the temporary. Following the termination or November 28th, expiration of the IGA, the grant of the temporary easement, blah, blah, blah. From time to time, following such termination of the temporary easement, the village shall have unfettered continual access and the right, privilege, and authority in its reasonable discretion to enter upon the easement area to operate, inspect, maintain, repair, or alter this stormwater sewer. I think it is reasonable to say that we will, provide access to be able to do those kinds of things. That makes sense. I'm not clear on what easement area they're referring to, because there's a temporary easement area and there's a permanent easement area. And this looks like it may be something that was supposed to go into the permanent easement contract, but sort of wound up staying in the temporary, by mistake. If it's not by mistake, I'd like to understand why it sounds like in this language to me, we're saying even though the temporary easement has reached its conclusion, there will still be rights to effectively enter that easement area, which is effectively saying the easement is still in effect, in my understanding. I'm no lawyer, so that's the kind of thing that I have questions on. I think one board member raised at an earlier time, some questions about the legal costs and whether the district would be carrying legal costs, which is the way it's written now, is that the district carries all legal costs that come about because of this. I'm not sure that I feel that comfortable with that. So those are the these are things that in my mind are not, as I said, showstoppers, but we haven't had a chance as a board to discuss this in depth, and I think it would be a useful thing to discuss in depth. I would be okay just me personally, I would be okay with saying, let's plan to discuss it in depth on March 9th. We can probably come to something that we feel comfortable with and then, take a vote relatively quickly thereafter. That's me, but we could also do it earlier.
Do other board members have issues besides the one that Mr. Steen has outlined? Two, sorry.
Yeah, there's two. I thought there was more than two.
There's a couple, yeah. So
there are a few.
Legal,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So he's
okay.
got a couple. Do you have?
I don't.
So I want to ask, I just want to actually highlight an issue, which I've already highlighted.
Yeah.
Which is the issue of mediation for unseen costs that the district would incur should there be a disruption to teaching and learning. In this agreement, we use the word emergency. Now, I just want to say, if there is so much noise outside that teaching and learning, this is an example, would be disrupted, we would need to put in air conditioning or make some kind of accommodation. That would not be a traditional emergency. A pipe broke, like a tree fell through the ceiling. It's not that. But we have a duty to ensure teaching and learning occurs uninterrupted and that we incur costs or do whatever mitigating thing we need to do to ensure that that occurs. It is not, in the traditional sense, an emergency. So I would just like clarification that, in terms of who makes that call, the district will.
I think it does state that, at the district's sole discretion.
Yep.
As judged at the district's sole discretion.
Thank you. And so I think it's just, so we all understand that it's not emergency in the traditional sense of the word. The sky won't be falling, but teaching and learning will be compromised. This don't.
What page are
This
you
is
on?
page 10 of 25.
Of the temporary construction
Temporary, thank you.
easement, it's near the top. Yes, fourth line, it begins with the notwithstanding on the third line. It says, notwithstanding the foregoing, in the event of an emergency that has the effect or likely effect to significantly interrupt the operation of High Crest Middle School as a result of the work, as judged at the sole discretion of the school district, the district shall expend such cost as necessary to ensure the uninterrupted operation of High Crest Middle School. I know this statement pretty well because we had some discussion specific to it, to ensure that we would have the authority to take action to ensure that programming was not interrupted, and then could discuss with the village whose responsibility and cost those might be.
You all may be fine with this, in which case I will be fine with this, but it's on page 7 of 25. It's about allowing students to access the fields. It may be made for certain classes and student groups to access the North Play fields upon 24 hours advance notification. And my recollection of that conversation is that it would be on a pretty regular basis for PE, and I just wanted to make sure that the administration felt comfortable with that language.
We did.
In which case,
we do believe we can give that notice. It on many days will be pretty consistent that that notice will be provided.
So I think the options we have are that we move forward with the consent agenda, or we pull it, and we basically outline, pardon me, pull it from the consent agenda.
No, it's not in the consent.
Oh, it's not, okay.
Well, we can either table it or not table it.
Thank you.
What about, we're going to go over the option of, so how do we communicate our concerns to the village in that day?
You mean on the 9th, when we
Yeah,
would have to?
right.
So ideally, we would gather those concerns, like we're talking about them
Right.
now tonight.
Okay.
And that would be communicated to the village by the superintendent and ironed out in advance. And so on the 9th, we would report out that an agreement and alternative language has been reached, and that we would have seen it in advance of that meeting. That we would all, in good faith, undertake
Yeah.
the desire to get it done.
I think, I know we're not talking to the audience here, but this agreement's so much better than how it started that I'm just frankly very impressed with how far it's come. And I know it's been an enormous undertaking in the background, so I wonder, are we willing to put more time into this for these concerns? Or how much time do we think needs to be, time and effort needs to be put into addressing the additional concerns? And maybe, we just won't know, right, until we write it up, it sounds like.
So part of my thought is that this is a significant enough agreement with a significant enough risk to the district in terms of disruption to our core mission, that if board members have concerns, we pull it and we operate in good faith to get it done on the 9th. Are people good with that?
Fine with that. Do we table both the items?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as we're really clear with the township that we are working in good faith to get it to them and get this done for them as a partner, because they've really come around too, and you have worked so hard on it. So I want to echo what John just said and what you have done to make this happen. Thank you for that.
We certainly have been working hard, and yet it is the board's, it is your vote, not ours. I think Ellen and I both have read through this agreement many times over, and we definitely took those 4 points seriously and understood that with those 4 points, we would be moving forward. If there are a couple of other points that we want to hammer out, we will take that in earnest, try to make sure that that is exceptionally clear, and then bring it back to the board on the 9th. So I have, in particular, looking at page 7, clarifying the easement and looking at legal costs. I will certainly work on that. I think that the other 2 areas, the at our sole discretion really does allow us to define if there is an emergency that may cause impact on our programming. And then the 24-hour notice, I believe we agree to that. That is something we can provide. Again, it may be pretty regular, so it may be a perpetual 24-hour notice. For a little while there, when it's nice out, we want our kids to be outside, of course. So we think we can work with those 2. If you want us to clarify the other items, we certainly can do that.
Well, thank you to you both for all the hard work, because honestly, I completely agree with John. I think I mentioned there aren't things here that are showstoppers for me, but there are things that I'd like clarifications on. We've discussed in the past that there were things that were showstoppers, and so having gotten those removed, I think I really appreciate it. Personally, I suspect the whole board does. Thank you.
Yeah, and I feel confident that we can
I do too.
finalize this on the 9th.
If there are any other issues that anyone has, I really strongly request, I am almost pleading at this point, if you have a concern with any other language, please let me know within the next 2 days so that we can make sure that our attorneys review everything, that the village's attorney reviews everything, and hopefully we can get it turned back around to you by this Friday, so that we can be certain when it comes forward again, we can take action on that. Okay, thank you.
I'll just backstop that and say, board members, let's say 48 hours, speak by then, or forever hold your peace.
I would like to explore with the attorneys the option of taking out the word emergency, changing the language on that. I'm page 10 of 25. That concerns me. That if something disrupts the operation of High Crest Middle School and it's not, like Lisa said, it's not a traditional emergency, that could be problematic for us.
And again, we did talk about this language quite a bit, both the village administration and myself. We were struggling to come up with some examples that might constitute this level of interruption, but certainly we can explore removal of the emergency language so that if there is a disruption, we'll take action to fix it so that programming can continue, and then we'll just kind of deal with who pays for it after the fact. So we can work on that. Thank you, Erin. Significant disruption is the proposed language on the table. Thank you.
Okay, should we move on to FOIAs?
Yeah,
I had
sorry.
a question I wanted to, administrative announcements.
We still got one more, but which one did you? Go ahead, Frank.
The school registration. Do we have an update on the kindergarten enrichment numbers?
I don't have a new update since the last update that I provided you. I'm sorry, I didn't calculate those numbers. I know we do expect them to grow just a little bit by the end of the school year. Traditionally, that wouldn't happen right now, but more as some family moves might happen. So I will get those numbers to you. Thank you for asking.
So to finish this out, we'll cover FOIA.
Thank you. The district received several FOIAs this month. There were 3, in fact. Isabella Rael requested a list of all current administrative and support staff employed at the district office, including names, position or title, monthly salary, annual salary, full-time equivalency amount, total compensation for fiscal year 2019, years employed by the district, age, and gender. Katie Kim of MBC5 issued a FOIA to District 39 and WICSE, which is the Special Education Cooperative, that requested information about the district's education technology program related to student learning on school-issued devices and included written agreements, contracts, companies providing content filtering and monitoring software, and documents showing policies and guidelines. And finally, Jennifer Smith-Richards of Chicago Tribune and Jody Cohen of ProPublica issued a FOIA that requested records sent to the Illinois State Board of Education regarding restraint and timeouts. Those are all reported on tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Moving on to strategic planning updates, Dr. Cremascoli.
Thank you. As part of our regular updates to the Board of Education and community regarding progress relative to the District 39 strategic plan, we will provide a mid-year report of progress. This executive summary report will focus on mid-year updates of the action steps identified within the continuing initiatives portion of the plan. So for audience members who may not be familiar yet with the strategic plan, there are a number of different items that are detailed on the strategic plan. We do come back to the board with updates regularly, and this update will focus just on the specific portion of continuing initiatives within the plan. An update on the new strategic initiatives will be presented in March. Katie Lee will provide this report, and she is clearly supported by many representatives of our administrative team. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much. We will begin the continuing initiatives presentation with delivering a nutritious school lunch program. Thanks. So last year, the district formed a school nutrition committee comprised of parents, staff, and administrators to review the District 39 lunch program and determine how satisfied parents and students were with the lunch program and the nutritional value of the student lunches. Overall, the results of the survey were very positive, but there's always room for improvement. So this year, the committee is using last year's survey results to focus on 3 areas. First, they are focusing on trying new, cleaner menu items. Cleaner, as a reminder, is defined as having less preservatives, food dyes, sugars, trans fat, sweeteners, etc. 18 new items are being tried this year and include items such as pork carnitas, whole wheat bagels, BLT chipotle chicken wraps, and potato-crusted pollock fish. Second, we have increased the variety and quantity of fresh fruit cuts offered at the schools. For example, at High Crest and Junior High, students are now able to purchase fresh cut fruit bowls at other lines in addition to the hot lunch line, such as the deli line or the a la carte line, and all elementary students are now able to select from a variety of cut fresh fruit options on a daily basis. The third area of focus has been nutrition education. And the monthly menu items have been highlighted, marked as new, cleaner items on the menu to bring attention to this option. Principals have also included information on these menu items in their newsletters to reach parents. And students also hear new food items being announced during morning announcement or displayed on screens. In the bottom part of the slide, we talk about the feedback and the metrics. Once a new menu item has been introduced 2 or 3 times, students are surveyed to gather their input directly after trying the new item. In April, students and parents will be asked to provide feedback on overall satisfaction with food services and nutrition quality so that we can measure the impact of all the positive changes we've made this school year. We conducted a focus group style discussion in January with kitchen staff at all the schools to get their unique perspective on the menu changes. As a result of the focus groups, the committee will need to take a closer look at the amount of time needed to prepare the new menu items and cut all of the additional fresh fruit. The incremental labor costs will need to be reviewed in conjunction with the lunch fee recommendation that we anticipate bringing to the board in May.
So the next initiative is the student growth differentiation and personalization. The Board of Education was presented with an annual fall assessment report during the October Committee of the Whole meeting and the Board of Education meeting. Throughout the year, we will also provide you more updates on the assessment, digging into that data. The administration has really focused on reviewing this assessment data, sharing the data with the staff, and addressing how to support student growth. What we wanted to do tonight is to share with you some highlights and examples of what the work looks like in our schools.
Hi. The action step that we'll be focusing on this next slide here is to engage staff on the use of qualitative and quantitative data to inform instructional decisions. In order to practice a holistic approach to analyzing our students' growth, we feel it is necessary to have ongoing data conversations. As you'll notice outlined on this slide, we have different layers of data conversations, each with a clear purpose. So first, we'll kind of look at big picture, thinking about data faculty meetings. In attendance at these meetings are all certified staff members with the purpose of identifying school-wide trends, analyzing growth, and planning for bands of students in need of RTI. Our next layer of these data meetings are our Friday student progress review team meetings. In attendance at these meetings are grade level teachers, administrators, psychologists, learning behavior specialists, reading specialists, WIN support teachers, and other specialists as needed and as invited depending on student needs. The purpose of these meetings is to focus on reviewing student progress monitoring to continue making instructional decisions. This may lead to newer interventions or changes within current interventions. This is also a time to create our WIN groups to meet the needs of all learners based on the data. During these meetings, we're able to discuss individual student growth as well as grade level trends and data. Qualitative data is also shared at these meetings to ensure that our teacher observations and conferring data matches our benchmark assessments, classroom assessments, and progress monitoring data. The next level is a student services goal review and data analysis meeting. Attending these meetings are our student services team along with an administrator. The purpose of these meetings is to dive deeper into the data for our students with IEPs. We want to reinforce a proactive problem-solving approach to our IEP student success. The intended outcome of this meeting is for members to apply analytic thinking to review student data and consider alterable factors to students' growth. Finally, we'll look at our SLO meetings, student learning objective meetings. During these meetings, a general education teacher meets with an administrator. The purpose of this meeting is to build capacity in our teachers to use assessment data to track student progress and make instructional decisions using classroom-based common assessments. These meetings allow administrators to coach classroom teachers through analyzing data and tracking student progress. Continuing on to the next slide, moving same area, different action step is to differentiate instruction and provide appropriate interventions, which I spoke about earlier, to impact student growth and achievement. Something that we've all recently gone through along with our staff is an intervention convention that was brought to us by curriculum and instruction as well as our teachers. The sessions that were created were teacher-led and customized for students. During these sessions, teachers were able to learn more about appropriate interventions to bring to our students. They focused on social emotional learning, writing strategies, reading strategies, and math strategies, and teachers were able to choose sessions based on their current student needs. Thanks.
The Kindergarten Enrichment Program, also known as Keep 39 Development Committee, has continued to meet and develop the program's framework. This framework includes lesson ideas and activities that will enrich learning in literacy, math, social studies, science, socialization, and purposeful play. It will also provide enhanced social emotional experiences to inspire kindness, empathy, and resilience, as well as embrace inclusivity and diversity. So we're very excited to launch this program. We wanted to give you maybe a little taste of what a lesson might look like for our kindergartners within the KEEP 39. So here's an example of a lesson that may focus on fostering the ability to accurately recognize one's emotions and thoughts. The students may be introduced to this core competency through literature, specifically through characters in a book, and then reinforced throughout the week during purposeful play or other interpersonal interactions. So some follow-up lessons and activities would be to use this ability of recognizing emotions to understand how it may influence behavior. So by developing this and providing that type of enrichment experiences will also help them in our academic kindergarten program as well. District 39's Building School Culture and Community Initiative focuses on enhancing each school's culture and connectedness. Administrators, staff, and students have truly embraced this initiative. And we would like to share a sampling, truly a sampling of some examples with the board tonight. I will begin with the community engagement events. So District 39 has planned for and hosted educational presentations and events to engage families, community members, and residents focused on strengthening partnerships and offering insight and information on topics of interest to our school community. On the slide, you will see the postcard that was sent out, designed by our communications director and sent out to all community members. And as of today, we have held events on the following topics: allyship in the face of hate, coping with and overcoming anxiety, movie screening and social media and discussion, understanding how identities are impacting students today, fostering resilient learners. District 39 has partnered with the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, Youth Services of Glenview Northbrook. District 39 PTOs and PTAs have joined us in this effort, and New Trier Township districts, as well as the Family Service Center. We have more public events planned for March and April, so we invite all interested to join us. Some of the topics are preparing for transitions, parenting in the digital age, engaging in difficult conversations around conflict, bias, and diversity, and long-term planning for a child with comprehensive needs.
Good evening. To highlight some in-school based professional development this year, to engage staff in professional development around building community in our classrooms and using a restorative approach to classroom management and discipline. We have led a book talk around hacking school discipline. The book reviews 9 hacks, such as holding circles in the classroom or teaching mindfulness, all which help build relationships with students and help improve the culture across the school. The book club has been well attended, and outcomes of our discussions have included attendees creating a plan for focused homeroom lessons that address the themes from the book and teaming to present them to students across the grade level.
Good evening. While Eric just gave an example of a book study at the High Crest in the junior high, I'm going to give an example of a book study at the elementary level. We have at Central Elementary School studied the book Culturized by Jimmy Casas. Representatives from each grade level and department meet monthly to reflect on chapters and topics together. We reflect as a staff on how to best cultivate a community of learners who embody traits such as kindness, honesty, and compassion. We believe that these soft skills can be honed in at an early age while meeting and exceeding our academic standards. Reflecting on what to do when students disengage from learning and how we can ensure our students feel cared for and empowered is important to us, and our goal is to create an environment where all learners are challenged and inspired to be their best. Moving forward, as building leaders, all of us use a variety of methods to strengthen student to staff connectedness, as well as strengthen relationships among staff members themselves. At High Crest in the junior high, they use relationship mapping to help illuminate student to staff connectedness and provide opportunities to staff to problem solve ways to intervene. As elementary leaders, we review data collected by the DESA, D-E-S-S-A, which is a social-emotional learning assessment taken by our staff. We analyze the data with our social workers and psychologists and plan necessary interventions for our students. To support staff, we offer a variety of ways to get their input and feedback. Examples include listening tours through opportunities such as coffee and conversation hosted by school administration. We also continually provide positive feedback to our staff. There are positive shout-outs to staff through handwritten notes, emails, and public recognition to highlight specific work done by both individuals and by groups. Staff can also provide positive feedback to each other through team building activities at staff meetings, peer observations of lessons, and public praise. And now, Aaron.
Hello. Engaging students in promoting a positive climate in the school has been a central focus throughout the year. One way that many schools chose to highlight the importance of inclusion, tolerance, and acceptance was through celebrating something called Unity Day. Unity Day was started by the Pacer National Bullying Prevention Center as a day for students to wear orange and pledge to fight against bullying in their schools. Students learn about bullying, and through the simple act of wearing orange, they send the message that bullying is not an acceptable behavior. Specifically, at the upper grade, students in the student advisory boards at Crest and Wilmette Junior High also help promote this event. And the board are some pictures that kind of show the seas of orange that were around different schools on that day.
All right. You have some fun pictures from our new Learning Commons space, which you were able to see just a short bit ago. On January 27th, we officially opened the final District 39 Learning Commons space at Crest Middle School. The Learning Commons spaces give all students the opportunity to flex their muscles using the 4 C's of collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking. Through having a flexible space such as the Learning Commons at Crest, students are able to find new opportunities for creativity in the maker space. So you can see them in a couple of those pictures. We just recently had a maker challenge making lovely items for February, which was really fun. There's glue everywhere, but it's great. Collaboration and communication through specific collaborative areas. Like small group rooms in the space, and they use their critical thinking as they incorporate technology to solve problems. So you can see in a couple of the pictures, there's a soccer mat there, and the kids are playing with Spheros and having a soccer game that they've programmed into their iPads to score goals. It's pretty fun. And there's another picture with our fitness and team building classes, videoing in the larger makerspace area, a physical routine, fitness building routine in there. So they are doing a lot of the 4 C's throughout the space already in just one short month. These spaces would not have been possible without the generous gifts for our Maker and STEM Lab from the District 39 Educational Foundation, as well as gifts from the HMS PTO for furniture. Our attention at Crest now turns to the outdoor classroom project that is being planned in an effort to connect the amazing new Learning Commons to the outdoor area that has always been a central hub of Crest. We partnered with the Lakota group to survey students and staff about preferred elements and activities for the outdoor classroom, and during the February 2nd Committee of the Whole meeting, the Lakota group presented an initial design suggestion with some options. After reviewing the design and cost estimates provided by the Lakota group, the district plan is to move forward with finalizing the design and looking for additional funding as we phase in the reconstruction of the outdoor classroom space in the next school year. Are there questions?
As Kelly Jackson said, we're very happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, first I want to thank everybody for your report. It was terrific. And now I do want to open it up to board members for questions.
As the President mentioned, thank you very much. A lot of work done by a lot of people. I had a couple questions, clarifications maybe on the differentiation and personalization subcategory. There was a mention of discussions related to individual students. What granularity did that get down to? We've talked in the past about improvement based on targeted scores and 25 to 50% of our students, depending on the grades and which way you look at it, don't grow at the levels that we would like. Are all 25 to 50% of those students talked about individually or as groups or by grade or by classroom? What level of program intervention is done?
I can begin, but if anyone wants to join me to add some more detail, please feel free to walk up this way. So as you can see, or what was shared in the data meetings were the different levels of discussions. So the really quick answer to that would be all of the above that you've mentioned, whether it be school-wide trends or be grade level trends or a particular classroom or individual students. So whether, if the conversation came to an individual student, then we would be, the level of granular data would be specific to that student. So where are they starting? Where do they need to go? What has been in place? Is it working? If it's not, let's change it. And it's all based on the individual student's data as well as groups and so on.
I can just add that at the 5-8 level, we look at specifically at benchmarking periods or after assessments that all of our students get. We will look at the data as a whole, like Katie said, to look at trends, and that's usually with our administrative team and maybe some other student services members. But then we will dig down into that data as we look at kind of where the students are falling on the continuum of scores. So at a data meeting, we would be meeting, we do it a little bit differently at High Crest and the junior high, where we meet in our individual house teams or in our instructional teams at the junior high, and we actually go down to the granular level for students. We say, this is where the student is. Are they growing? How are they performing in class? How does that compare to what they're doing on the test? And really bring some pieces of evidence to share with us and set up plans where plans are needed. So we are doing all of the above, as what you said.
Jump in, I echo for the elementaries as well. And when we look at progress monitoring students, what we mean is we're looking at that group of students that may need an extra intervention. Those students are then progress monitored anywhere from a weekly to a monthly basis, and we're looking at their data that regularly with both their classroom teacher, their grade level psychologists, and administrators to see very quickly whether or not they're making growth. And if we notice that after several data points that they're not making growth, that's when we would make a change in intervention depending on the team's input. So that's what we look down all the way down to the level of students that are requiring those interventions.
Yeah, just I think you've answered it, but I'm not positive. So let's say a student is doing well but not growing, or even this test scores went down. Is each individual student that falls into the category of not growing being discussed specifically, or is it as groups, categories, houses? I mean, does it actually get down to the potentially 50% of the students that didn't show growth?
So it will get down to individual students that aren't making growth depending on classroom data and other assessments. So we kind of look at it holistically. So those students, each classroom teacher looks at the growth of their students. So students may be falling in a high achievement, high growth area. That's an area that they're doing really well. They may fall into a high achievement, low growth, and we're looking at those students because they're not making expected growth and comparing their data not only with that qualitative data we have from classroom observations, we also have classroom-based assessments, and we're comparing all of that data to ensure that any students that are not showing growth in our district assessments and classroom-based assessments, then we are intervening to ensure that they are moving along.
And Frank, maybe I can jump in too. I have noticed, and I want to commend our principals in particular this year. They've really dug in with their teacher teams to look at data in ways that historically we have tried to look at, but I think this year in particular, really digging into the trends of what we're seeing across cohorts and across grade levels, and then digging deep with each individual student. So there are different meetings for different purposes. I have seen our teacher teams led by our principals and by other support people really digging into what those students need and trying to find those interventions through our WIN programming or through the other programs that are available. And then really monitoring, it's important that we're looking not only at individual students by student by student by student, but that we're also looking at some of the big trend data. And I think historically that is some newer looks that we're taking this year. Again, I want to commend our principals and our teachers and all the educational professionals who are working hand in hand with our curriculum and instruction department to really dig into these data in ways that are a little bit new and a little different for us. The map in particular is 2 years old, and so our teachers now are starting to really understand what opportunities exist in those data to dig in a little bit deeper. So this is hard work. We've got a lot more work to do in these regards, but I think our teachers and our principals really are making great strides, and I've seen them trying things a little bit new and a little different this year than maybe they've been able to accomplish in the past, and I'm really proud of that work.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, my understanding was that we didn't have the growth. We didn't have the growth data before that we have now, because we had been looking at this and waiting for this for a while, and now we have the growth data to be able to track for students. Is that true?
In reference to MAP, I think what they do is they do provide us the growth data. So just to echo everything that everyone has said, I think if, rather than student growth, if I were to reflect on District 39 growth when it comes to student growth, each year we have just learned different aspects and elements that will improve. And this year has been like truly the roll up your sleeves and get to work. Not that we haven't done that before, but I think it's to a level that we've refined it a little better. And so, again, just the type of discussions that we're having, we know that we're a step closer. We're progressing.
So now with the information that we have, or the data that we have, does it allow us now to look into our student body, not only finite, individualized, which is the most crucial, each student, obviously, to me, it's most important, but when we're looking across our district, I'm wondering if it also is allowing us to then separate out, we have a very large population of students with developmental differences, which is disproportionate, I think, to other districts. And being able to look at that group of students who learn differently and kind of look at that, I think it really works nicely with the assessment of our special education right now that we're looking at. Is like, how are we doing that? That also feeding into this whole
absolutely
finite look at how are we doing things, how can we do things better. It's just exciting to me to see that we'll be able to do that if that's the case.
And Ellen, I think
also for exceptional learners as well. So kind of.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is kind of looking at that trend data over time, which it does. In that first year, we were all learning, and it was new to us to administer MAP, new for our students. In the second year, we were kind of getting our feet under us. We now are at the point where we have some trend data. We know what that data is beginning to tell us, and we can dig in a little deeper, not only on identifying specific students who may need some more help, but looking at cohorts of students and making sure that our curriculum and instruction really lines up with what we're hoping to see. And where it doesn't, what are we doing about it? And those are some really critical conversations that we're starting to have with our curriculum teams, but more importantly with our teacher teams at each school to really dig in there. And we're doing the same with IAR in ways that we maybe haven't done as much in the past. And so pulling together, triangulating those data along with the classroom assessments are really giving us a clear picture of some opportunities that we have to grow a little bit further than we've been able to in the past.
Ellen, can I
of course,
add a little bit?
Hold on one second. I was just, of course, I meant across the board. Like, I wasn't trying to be exclusive to one group or another. I was just using it as an example. So, but thank you for John.
I'm trying to think how to phrase this. So how do the parents play into this? What kind of communication is going out to the parents about where their children are?
So this is something we've talked about a little bit this year that we're thinking about making a change to. In the past, data has gone home for MAP data at the end of the year for parents to reflect upon. For the last 2 years, that's the way we've sent data home. We have talked as an administrative team about sending that data home at each benchmarking period. And so that will be something new to us and something new to our parents, and our amazing teachers need to also be prepared then for those questions that we can anticipate will come from our parents, and they want to be well-versed and able to answer those questions as well. So that will be something new that we will be endeavoring upon so that everyone does have that data, and we're bringing some transparency to that data in ways that we haven't in the past.
Mr. Steen?
So first of all, lots of great work, and I want to mention in particular the ADL program, and I know we had a teacher in-service day recently with that program, and got some really positive feedback about that. I think that's super exciting. Nobody's going to be surprised to hear me switch gears to the growth topic because that's where I am. So I want to reflect a little bit on where we've come from because I think it's great. You know, I know that probably 4 years ago, you and I talked about even the 4-box matrix, right? I remember sitting in the conference room over here, and we kind of went through that. So I think we've done a terrific job of bringing growth as a metric into the students, into our philosophy, I meant to say, and then getting the data down to the student level. I think that's terrific. And then to hear that we may share that with parents so that parents can start to get that philosophy and understanding, this is a terrific journey. Now my question, which is, how should we expect to be able to monitor the progress and the difference that's going on? What should we be looking for? When should we be looking for it?
That is a great question. And if we were finished with questions, we could segue, but I know we're not. No, I think that, Mark, really, this is part of the really exciting work that lies ahead for us. Just as we've looked at our finances and we've created some benchmarks there and a dashboard that is going to help us examine in an ongoing way the kinds of metrics that the board has identified as important. We hope through the strategic planning process and the really exciting work that hopefully you'll allow CEC to do with us and guide us through, the data retreat and really identifying the metrics that are of utmost importance to us and to the board and to our community to really monitor in an ongoing way. There's a few measures we've really keyed into over the last couple of years as we've been learning about MAP and as we've continued to monitor the state assessment, but we want to dig into that in ways that maybe are new to us and that might inform those future improvement efforts. So we're really excited about that work. Again, we will get some support for that, and I think the Consortium for Educational Change is just the right partner to help us really dig in ways that might be a little bit new for our district to examine student data and student growth. So we're excited about that, and then we do hope that we'll continue to identify those metrics so that we can review that in a regular way as part of the strategic plan.
Great. I think that's terrific. I also want to point out that I think that, metric can really drive behavior, not always in the right way. So I think it's wise to be really thoughtful about how we're doing it. So I appreciate that sort of thoughtfulness. And of course, I think this goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, which is, we've been talking about MAP and standardized assessments, and I think we all recognize that that is not the be-all, end-all. And so obviously, we'll be looking at growth metrics across a lot of different ways to think about growth. Thanks.
Ms. Willie.
Great. Well, thank you for this very impressive update on all fronts. I started tonight very moved and inspired by the students that were here for the No Place for Hate statement. That really struck me. And then to hear your presentation on building school culture and community. I'm just so grateful for the work that you've done. We adopted a statement last spring. Clearly, it was more than words, and I'm very grateful. So thank you for the work, and thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. Others?
If I could, just because I have the microphone right now and my whole administrative team almost is sitting in front of me, I want to echo Amy's comments. critical and really important work that is not always easy, is to focus on school culture and climate and really have some difficult conversations with our staff and empower our staff to have the language and the tools to really engage with our students, again, in ways that are a little bit new and a little different. And so there's been some adult learning. Last year, as I sat in the audience and I watched you all adopt the statement that you did and really set forth the vision and the charge for our district, it was a little scary because there were some really audacious goals set forth there. And again, I want to commend my administrative team and all of our teachers and staff who have really taken that to heart and dug in and done some really incredible things. Again, this is a place where we have more work to do, and we probably always will have more work to do, but the strides we're making in the conversations our faculty and staff are having are really powerful. And again, it's challenging work, but it's really important work. It's the right work to be doing. So thank you for mentioning that, but thank you, team, for taking that all on so seriously.
Other comments?
I'll just echo what's been said. And I think it was Dana who said it, but I know it applies to all of your students. But I really appreciate the holistic approach to monitoring student growth, because as Mark said, it's not, or building off of what Mark said, it's more than just standardized tests. So thank you very much. That's harder to do, but I'm thankful that you're doing that deep dive.
Other comments?
This sounds rather silly after the last couple comments that were made, because as you all know, I feel very, very deeply about the ADL. But just a question about the nutrition.
We're happy to answer.
It's important work, too.
Yes.
Very important work, and this question, it's just been eating at me. No pun intended. Sorry.
I'm slow.
So I probably know the answer to this already, because I'm guessing this was from parent and child questionnaires, but why fruit and not fresh veggies? I wish there was.
Yeah, I mean, we tried different vegetables as well. I didn't highlight them. We did try cream spinach, just for the record. That was the only thing the kids gave 2 thumbs up. But we have tried a bunch of new vegetable options, some broccoli, cauliflower, roasted, whatever. And I don't have the list in front of me. But the fruit, the kids just seem to be eating a lot of the fruit, and so the more we put it out there, the more they're taking, and we are trying different options as well. But the fruit came across really strong in the survey as well, but we are trying to add vegetables as well. But typically the vegetables are more incorporated into the full lunch menu, whereas the fruit, especially at the junior high and the high Crest, can be offered separately as bowls, and so the kids can purchase those separately, and so it's just an added option there.
I was just wondering, because we took away sugar and then we added sugar. The fruit is, I know it's natural, but it's a lot of sugar. So anyway, thank you. Sorry.
Other comments? I'll make a couple. The first is I did really enjoy this report. I thought it was really lovely that there were so many of you who actually stood up and contributed. So thank you. It was just nice to hear all the different voices. The next is just going back to data. I also just want to say I think it was really interesting to me to hear about the different levels of your data meetings and the descriptions. So thank you for that. That gave me a real flavor for kind of the mechanics of how you dive into the data. I am thrilled to hear about kind of the new and deeper dives that are taking place, and also excited to see what is going to happen after our big data retreat, I don't know if that's the right word, with the strategic planning team. And then next year when we have new administrators, I just think we're gonna really build on the momentum that's already been started, which I just think is terrific. So thank you all.
You mean additional?
Yeah.
Additional.
That just made them all very nervous out there.
Surprise, we're going to have new administrators.
No, I'm sorry. The ones that we're hiring, that we publicly announced. Thank you, Mark.
Sorry, just wanted to clarify.
The board could also expect updates on our assessment data in the spring, as we've done, and then also again in the fall. So while we engage in this process. So thank you very much for your support.
So now we'll move to the strategic planning consultants.
Yes, and you'll see later on the agenda this evening a recommendation, thank you, team, regarding our strategic plan consultants. So after a very thorough proposal review and interview process, we are excited to recommend to the board the Consortium for Educational Change, also known as CEC, to provide strategic planning facilitation services. As the board knows, our mission within the Wilmette Public Schools is to strive to nurture, guide, and challenge students to become creative thinkers, collaborators, and socially responsible, compassionate, and productive citizens of a global society. We establish an environment that really aims to support that in each and every one of our students in fiscally responsible ways, but in child-centered ways as well. And so we're really excited about the work that lies ahead. With our most recent strategic plans, the district has annually provided action goals, and we as a district have updated our core curriculum to meet the core state standards and to support growth for students through differentiation and personalization. We've created, the flexible learning environments, the learning commons within each school. We've implemented one-to-one technology. We've enhanced our SEL. We've designed kindergarten enrichment program. We're really excited to be launching that and made improvements to our facilities as well. We continue to strengthen our school culture and climate, as you heard this evening, really focused on relationships, connectedness, inclusion, and engagement to ensure each student and every staff member is supported to grow every day. So the board directed us to look at a strategic plan facilitator who can help to guide our examination of not only our successes, and we know that there are many, but also in those areas where there's opportunity to grow and to improve and to really look forward to those future improvement opportunities. So we are really excited about the CEC supporting this process. Through this process, the district will define a multi-year plan that will guide the district's pursuit of excellence. As we support our student growth and achievement, we want both to be occurring. We want our staff to be developed and continue to experience success. And we know that we continue to have facility improvements and need to do all of this in fiscally responsible ways. As I alluded to a little bit earlier, we are particularly excited about the CEC's approach because they start their planning process off with a deep data dive through a data retreat. This retreat will provide us the opportunity to dig even deeper into our data in new and rich ways and really examine our strengths that we want to continue and those areas where we recognize there are opportunities for continued growth and to examine and quite frankly to do even better than we've done in the past. We have many points of pride, but we also know that we have ways that we can improve and we want to really dig in there. So as we learned from the CEC, they will take us through a data retreat where we will really dig into all of our student achievement data and growth. We will dig into the school culture and climate data and then also look at our district finances and facilities. And when they were here presenting with the board, they didn't really dig in as much to what that data retreat will look like and the areas of focus. And so as we learned more and followed up, thank you for your questions, we really were able to better understand that data retreat as the first guide to our improvement efforts moving forward. So we're really excited about that. Our team and the board seem particularly excited about that work and the process that the CEC will lead us through. We also really value the input and expertise of our stakeholders, and that was another critical component of the CEC's approach, really engaging our stakeholders in the planning team process, but then also once we have a first iteration of those efforts to go out and get feedback from our stakeholders outside as well. And so we're really, again, we're really excited about this planning process. We're excited about working with CEC, and we're just really eager to get started. So we hope that the board will adopt this and support our efforts in this regard so we can get started this winter already, and hopefully we'll have a plan for presentation and potential adoption by the board by September.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to annual business. Dr. Primascoli.
Yes, renovations are needed at Central School this summer in order to have the space for kindergarten enrichment our kindergarten enrichment program at that school. The bids were opened on February 4th for the renovation work, and Ellen has an update on this.
A brief update. So the renovations at Central are scheduled to be completed between June and August this summer, and they include the following items. They include converting 2 special education classrooms to kindergarten classrooms, relocating the teacher's lounge, and converting the current lounge back into a special education classroom. We also have, as part of this project, adding air conditioning to the cafeteria, which will increase the large space air conditioning capacity at Central School. We had plenty of qualified bidders, and the bids came in less than estimated. The construction costs are coming in at $1.7 million, which includes an estimated $768,000 for the large space air conditioning in the cafeteria. The total cost for the project is $2,189,000, which includes architect fees, construction management fees, all the general conditions and management and pass-through costs associated with the project.
Great. Are there questions? Okay, moving on to board policy. Board policy review. Dr. Cremascoli.
Yes, the policies presented for a second reading tonight have been revised based upon the board feedback from the first reading in January. Revisions have been highlighted in yellow, and so these policies are recommended for adoption later on this evening's agenda.
Board members, are there any questions or comments on any of the policies? Ms. Sternweiler.
2. Okay. Not big ones. But actually in policy 4:190.
Hold on, let us all get there with you.
Operational services. I read through this a bunch of times, and then I was reading the second paragraph, the beginning of it. It says the superintendent or designee shall develop and implement the program. The program oversees the maintenance of a district environment. A program can't oversee. So, I mean, so my suggestion is changing that sentence to the purpose of the targeted school violence prevention program will be to maintain or to ensure or to establish, something along that lines.
So we could revise it. The program was already defined earlier, so program refers back. The program oversees, you're saying the program can't oversee, so the purpose of the program is to oversee the maintenance of a district environment that is conducive to?
Right.
Okay.
That's fine.
That would be an easy
Board members,
adjustment.
are we okay with that?
Purpose of the program is to oversee, for the notes.
And then the only other one that I just had a question, and it was just the title. It was actually the title of 5:50. It's just the title. It's drug dash and alcohol dash free workplace semicolon E dash. I don't understand the title. I'm trying to figure out how that's written.
So it could have alternatively said drug-free and alcohol-free workplace. Instead, the hyphen attaches the word free to both drug and alcohol.
Awkward to me. It doesn't read. It doesn't read to me. Is that difficult to read
I've
to
seen
anyone
that
else?
used before
You
pretty
have?
frequently, yeah.
I've never seen it used that way. Okay. Okay, that was just, it was
Are you
just a
okay with
question.
that? I mean,
It's fine, it was just something that it didn't read clearly to me, and I was wondering if the average person going through going through this would get that or stumble and be like, and ask what the heck does that mean? So
I just like things written very, very clearly so that just anybody can read it and understand it right away. It doesn't read very clearly to me.
Is your suggestion to add drug-free and alcohol-free workplace?
How did you read it originally?
That's exactly.
Drug-free and alcohol-free workplace.
Does anybody have any issues with that?
Perfect. We can make those revisions.
Changes that people would like to make? No? So are we okay with these changes, voting on these policies as amended? And I'm assuming they can be in the consent agenda as amended?
As amended.
Are we all, I just want to do a double check. We're all good with that? Okay. Great. Then this is an opportunity for the audience to address the board. Are there any audience members that would like to speak at this time? If so, please come forward to the podium. I must remind all guests to use the microphone, state your name and community of residence, and by board directive, you are allowed 3 minutes if it's your first time addressing the board, or 1 minute if you've previously spoken.
I'm still Diane Chansenbach from Wilmette. I liked a lot of what I heard tonight about your new use of data, the increased transparency with parents, and your strategic interventions when the data sort of indicate that. I know that we are engaged in a strategic planning process, and I want to make sure that regaining academic excellence that Wilmette schools have been known for is front and center of that plan. It's also important to me that parents and board members in the district are informed and engaged. And to that end, I've prepared a slide deck using the publicly available data that I presented to you tonight. I've sent it to each of you, and I'm also distributing it widely to parents so that we can work together to ensure that we have the schools that our children and our community deserve. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Carnes, and I am a parent in District 39. I have a 7th grade student at WJHS. I have a 5th grade student at Crest, and I have a 2nd grade student at Harper. And I too come before you tonight as a concerned parent. But I first want to say how thankful I am to work with many of you in various capacities. I am a part of the CRC Review Committee and have gotten to know some of our administrative staff and teachers through that. I've also been a member of the PTO Exec Board at Highcrest for the last 3 years, and I've had other various PTO positions at Harper as well since I moved here to Wilmette. I love being involved in our school system. I've gotten to know our administrators and our teachers, who I think are all top-notch. I have loved that every time I've reached out to a teacher, they are very responsive to me and feel like we have really high-quality teachers and administrators. But I do want to express concern just because I started thinking this about 2 years ago when my oldest child was then in 5th grade and started just seeing what I felt like were the deficiencies, and when I expected her to have based on her test scores, kind of seemed fine, but did start to see a drop just in her proficiency or at a stagnant level. I have continued to see that. And then also as my 2nd child has come into Highcrest, I also continue to see that, and I can't figure out what it is. I feel like we have high-quality teachers. I even had the opportunity to speak with Katie Lee over curriculum, and I just thank you so much for spending an hour and 45 minutes of your time with me when you have so many other things to do. But I just appreciate your willingness to listen to a concerned parent. So I think we have all the tools in place, and I've been very thankful to hear how we're going to use data going forward. So I do feel more encouraged with the discussion that happened from our principals here in the back and how we're going to use that data going forward. And I really just want to echo what I heard Diane say, is I would love to see that information provided to parents in a more timely basis, to know a little bit more from our teachers how they're reaching our students. I feel like as a parent I have to advocate, which is what we do as parents, right? But I would like to feel more partnership with the teachers, a proactive partnership, if you will, and not really settle for kind of just like getting by, which is what I have felt like my children have to this point. I expect more of them. I have high expectations. I want them to be reasonable, and I want them to grow. And anyway, I want to see that continue to happen, and I hope that with the data that we're getting and the emphasis that you're putting on it, that we will continue to see that in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lauren Litchfield, a resident of Wilmette, and I am the current Vice President of Fundraising at the Ramona PTA. On behalf of the PTA, we want to say thank you for your support. Our annual benefit is this Saturday night, and we can't wait to announce the commitment that you've shared with us this evening. So again, thank you so much. Our 25-year-old playground will be rebuilt next summer. How exciting. And we will follow up with you, Dr. Cremascoli and Ms. Sternweiler, for the details and the specifics. So again, on behalf of the PTA, thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there others who would like to come forward? If not, we will continue with our agenda. The next order of business is the consent agenda under the action items. Are there any items the board would like pulled from the consent agenda? Mr. Panzica, please proceed with the motions.
I move to approve the personnel report dated February 24, 2020. I move to approve the award of the base bid package plus alternatives 2 and 3 in the amount of $1,744,080 per bid specifications for the Central Elementary School renovations and the addition of large space air conditioning. The subcategories: RB construction for an amount not to exceed $537,500, Olson roofing for an amount not to exceed $119,780, Monarch construction for an amount not to exceed $403,500, Amber Mechanical for an amount not to exceed $441,900, Shoreline Electric Company for an amount not to exceed $241,400, for a total Central Elementary School project cost of $1,744,080. I move to approve the contract with Atlantic Research Partners for special education and response to intervention RTI evaluation. I move to approve a contract with the Consortium for Educational Change for strategic planning services in the amount not to exceed $22,500. I move to approve as second and final reading of the Board of Education policies 4:190, Targeted School Violence Prevention Program, 5:50, Drug-Free and Alcohol-Free Workplace, e-cigarette, tobacco, and cannabis prohibition, 5:220, Substitute Teachers, 5:230, Maintaining Student Discipline, 5:245, Employee Suspension, 5:260, Student Teachers, 5:270, Employment at Will, 5:285, Support Personnel Duties and Qualifications, 5:290, Support Personnel Employment Termination and Suspensions, 5:310, Compulsory Time Off Policies, and 7:290, Suicide and Depression Awareness and Prevention. 4:190 and 5:550 as amended. I move to approve the accounts payable for bills listed between January 28, 2020 and February 24, 2020 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $340,779.37. O&M Fund, $240,985.46. Debt Service, $1,750. Transportation Fund, $185,922.22. Capital Projects, $117,703, for a total all funds of $887,140.05. I move to approve the manual checks issued between January 28, 2020 and February 24, 2020 in the following amounts. Educational Fund, $552,259.95. O&M Fund, $4,291.56. Transportation Fund, $35.46, for a total all funds of $556,586.97.
May I have a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. The ayes have it, motion carried. Moving on to conference items. Do we have any, oh, we do have old business. Old business, the Superintendent Evaluation Framework. Amy.
Yes, so at our last committee of the whole meeting, we discussed a draft of a superintendent evaluation tool to use this year. I want to thank Ellen Sternweiler for giving an enormous amount of time to help me edit it. We went through the entire document multiple times with the goal of making it a little bit more concise. We really tried. Making the language more active, and ensuring that the indicators are suited toward district rather than school-based leadership. So hopefully you'll see topics that reflect values that we really care about as a district. So if we agree, we can use this tool this year and then revise it when we have an updated job description and a new strategic plan. So that was circulated previously, so hopefully you'll all been able to take a look at it.
Board members, were there any issues or concerns, recommended changes with the revised draft?
Can I make one tiny comment, which is that we made the decision to have each indicator on a page just so that it looked more neat and organized, not with the expectation that you would need to fill the page with comments. Just for norm's sake.
That's very helpful.
Yes.
Going back to it, were there questions, comments, recommended changes? Then at this point, I say we put this to bed and use the evaluation as we discussed this year, and then we will have a discussion about how it went moving forward. Right? I see all nods. Great. Thank you very much to the two of you. I appreciate all the hard work on that. The next piece of old business is Park District Partnership for After-School Recreation Programming.
I'm happy to give an update to the board. We spent some time talking about our partnerships with the Park District at one of the board's recent meetings. We continue to work closely with the Park District to support that intergovernmental, collaboration for the benefit of our students, families, and constituents at large. As we discussed earlier this school year, we are exploring options for expanding after-school recreation programs offered on-site at our schools. There's a lot of logistics to this, and we'll continue to work through those, but the Park District has developed a program called Campus Clubs, which they have proposed to host at our schools. With the board's direction, we have really focused in at Ramona, where we know there will be some interest and they're not needing to lose enrichment clubs in order to accommodate the space necessary. And then also at Crest School, and the Park District has committed to providing a pilot program at both of those schools for the upcoming school year. And so we're really excited about that. We're also really feeling grateful that the Park District has taken so much of our feedback and really carefully considered that, not only for Ramona and Crest, but also as we look at our other elementary schools and the enrichment programs that we offer there. So we're really feeling very good about this partnership and our collaboration with the Park District. And so I again, just want to highlight that ongoing partnership and acknowledge our gratitude to them for continued work with us as we kind of sort through some of these logistics.
Are there questions? Okay, well then let's move to new business. Is there any new business? Is there any good in welfare?
You have something? So a couple weeks ago, on a rare day where I wasn't working, the school district I work at usually has the same days off. After I dropped my daughter off at New Trier, I ended up over by Central Elementary School during the drop-off period. I hadn't quite anticipated that, wasn't on my radar. So while I was stopped in traffic, I was looking out the window and I saw this boy, who's probably about 8, walking to school by himself, and he clearly had a ton of personality, a lot of antics, a lot of zigzagging on the sidewalk, but he was walking to school with such joy. And I started thinking about, like, what's his day gonna be like? And I was thinking, you know, he's got these teachers and administrators and staff who care and love him and want him to learn, and he's got this curriculum that he's gonna be learning that people have spent so much time working on. And it just was really affirming about all the hard work that the people in our district do and that they're continuing to do, and they're gonna be doing a ton more. And I just wanna thank the people for caring about the children of this district.
That's lovely.
Like that.
It's a hard act to follow, but I'm asking, would anyone like to?
No following.
No? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
I move to adjourn to executive session to discuss collective negotiation matters between the public body and its employees or the representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees, and for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district.
Do I have a second? All in favor? That's what, yep, okay. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. We are adjourned to executive session.